Hey, welcome to the 40 Finance channel, everybody. My name's Jeff Beers. Today I'm going to go over a recent purchase I just made of a SPAC under the ticker symbol BFT. This is one that's eventually going to merge with PaySafe, which is an online payment provider, digital wallet provider. So I'm going to go into the details of why I kind of plucked this one seemingly out of nowhere, how I've been studying it, and where I think I can go from here. Reminder, as always, that my stock picks and projections, they're just my opinion for your entertainment. Please make sure you do your own research and due diligence before making any investment. And of course, if you like stock market analysis and personal finance videos, then please consider liking this video, subscribing to the channel so that you can see more of the great content I have planned for 2021. All right, so just to kick things off, I haven't been buying a lot of stocks lately. I bought a little bit at the end of December, made 2 new additions with Square and Amazon because we had some weakness. But ever since coming out of the gate, the stock market has been hot yet again here in 2021, and I'm still trying to feel my way around, looking for any sort of weakness to get in to try to save some money on these prices, because there's no argument that most things are overvalued from a historical standpoint. As a long-term trader, there's always that risk reward of, trying to save a couple bucks like I often do and missing out on gains. But for right now, I'm just not sold that there's no weakness to be had. I think the world still has its conflicts, and I'm just waiting for a day, hopefully here soon, where I can come in and pick off a couple purchases. Now, with that being said, this SPAC purchase that I made has run relatively flat over the past 30 days. And so I felt pretty good about picking it up at this time. I wanted to wait about a month or so before the headlines came out about this one and just kind of see where it matriculated, make sure that all of the news we thought we heard is 100% true. And it does seem like that is the case. So let's jump in and learn about this BFT SPAC purchase. All right, and just some quick background of what's going on here. You can see this article from MarketWatch here on December 7th. So again, about a month ago, Foley Trasimene Acquisition to merge with PaySafe and deal with enterprise value of about $9 billion. Foley, a special purpose acquisition corporation, said Monday it has agreed to merge with PaySafe Group Holdings, a payments platform, in a deal with an enterprise value of $9 billion. So obviously BFT existed, and with intention to merge with another company. I think it had been out since September or October, and then right here on December 7th, we got the first news headlines. I was already intrigued at that point, but it was really hard to find a ton of information about everything. So I decided to let things simmer until they had an actual date of when the merger would happen. You can see down here, the deal is expected to close in the first half of 2021, which is obviously a little bit murky. Most of the stuff that I've read here recently suggests that March 1st is the approximate time frame. Okay, so what are we getting with PaySafe in this SPAC deal? They're probably best known to most people for Skrill, which is their digital wallet. According to them, they're number 2 global stored value digital wallet is how they're ranking it. Then they have eCash, which is an iGaming eCash network as it's being described here. And it's basically digital currency that you use in things like Fortnite, Twitch, and I'm not sure how Spotify gets into that, but that's in there too. And then lastly, you have that kind of traditional payment platform that you think about with your PayPal, Squares, Visa, etc. And so nothing massively groundbreaking here, but if you look at the bottom, as I'm sure you noticed, the brands that they're working with, which is a lot of gambling, betting, a lot of social media / gaming, and then they also have some health and fitness. These companies are operating in growing markets, and for me in particular, there is a very strong association with DraftKings, which is another stock that I have purchased as well. So there's definitely some kind of parlay play to this, if you will, from my standpoint. Okay, not a lot to talk about on the stock side, but the ticker here, BFT, trades around $15, hasn't seen a ton of movement, quite frankly, since the announcement was made. Looks like on the 52-week range, you had a $17 bump, and it's come back down. So it stayed stable, and that was one of the reasons that I was curious about it, but felt like I had more time to do my research. Here's where you get the announcement, where it's riding, I don't know, somewhere in the neighborhood of $8 or $9. Then the announcement came out, and then you had more headlines, which of course drove more interest. And here at the turn of the year, things have sort of settled down. Again, I think the big one right now is people want to know more. So let's take a look at what information we do know as of today. All right, the first thing that my mind always goes to, of course, is the growth rate. How are we looking for the past couple years? How are things looking in the future? And just to be super clear on this one, this is not a 0 to 100x story. Now, I think they'll be able to beat some of their estimates if things go well, but this is not like some 10x stock that's going to matriculate over the next 12 months by any stretch. Short version, from 18 to 19, they had 12% growth in the volume of payments. That actually dipped in 2020, which is a little surprising. I really did struggle with that one because I felt like online could have been more productive. But at the same time, what you have to remember is sports took a hit, and they do so much in the sports gambling space on an international basis that this kind of makes sense. And then looking ahead for the next few years, they're expecting 50% growth per year in payment volume, which is great. That is double-digit growth, which is always strong. You would sort of hope at the SPAC level that you could get into sort of a 20-25% growth. But I think that this company has some shiny objects that could do better, perhaps than they expect. On the revenue side, organic revenue, 18 and 19, you had 13% growth. Again, 2020 is a little bit of a step back, not by much, but just enough. And from a revenue perspective, you have about 11% projected there. So again, a little lighter than I expected for something like this. However, I do believe that there is potential to go above and beyond the 11%. They, for example, have not done much with promotion or advertising. And like every SPAC in the world, this is going to inject some investment dollars into the company. Okay, so despite the fact that PaySafe has a lot of cool things like the Skrill digital wallet, like the payment platform, like the eCash, this is why I signed up, is they really are the global leader in iGaming payment processing. And basically this is mobile betting payment processing. You can see here they launched in '99. They have 1,000 operators from Europe and the rest of the world. In Canada, they launched in 2010. They have 100% of Canada iGaming coverage. And of course, the United States first launched in 2013. But as you guys know, in my DraftKings bull case, the expectation is that this market grows substantially over the next, 3 to 5 years. Right now, they're saying they're live in 12 states. They serve over 60 operators, representing 75% of the current market. Obviously, being live in 12 states, there are, 38 some odd more to go, depending on how legislation proceeds. All right, so I'm super excited on the, the betting, gaming portion of things. But you got to admit, when you look through some of their stuff and the partners that they're working with, they are going after these untraditional markets, which I think is very cool. So video gaming, looks like they have a relationship with Stadia, which is a Google video game console. Fortnite, we've all heard about. Roblox, which is about to go public themselves. On the social media side, YouTube payment provider, I thought that was pretty interesting. Almost shocking, to be quite honest, especially if the YouTube partnership grows. Spotify and Twitch are both names that I recognize. I think those are strong plays. And then on the property management side, I thought this was kind of cool. So you figure for property owners and the people who rent the property, a payment system like this, pay lease and rent track and all that, could be very helpful for streamlining the process of paying rent, right? And I hadn't even thought about that market. So when I saw this, I was like, you know what, that's interesting. Definitely worth consideration and something we'll have to watch. And then wellness and membership. I don't personally know anything about these companies they have listed here, but I think it's an intriguing play, and I think we can all agree that wellness and membership sites are going to be more popular down the road. All right, and this slide just talks a little bit about their leadership in iGaming. And on the US iGaming market, there's a potential for a 52% growth story by 2025. This chart, basically they're saying how they have a dual-sided approach, right? Very similar to PayPal, where you have the sort of digital wallet and the eCash for the customer, but then on the business or enterprise side, you also offer the payment platform for them to process. And finally, they're already at 60 plus US iGaming customers, including some of these lotteries, which I think was pretty interesting, because one of the things that you're seeing at the state level is utilizing the existing lottery department to oversee some of the gambling operations. And it was interesting that PaySafe was already with whatever this, Michigan Lottery, Virginia Lottery, whatnot, because these guys could continue to be big players as they're turning out to be essentially the operators of the state sports gambling operation. All right, this slide, sort of a reiteration, focused on iGaming commerce. That would also include the video game sort of eCash. And I think this is perfect, focused on the most attractive segments and verticals. I would sub out the word attractive and probably put in here focused on the most suitable, right? So they are staying in their lane in places that they have had experience in, with the US gaming market growing so much, as well as the video gaming and all that. That's where they're focused at, and I think that that's a great place to be, because you can sell your expertise when you already have a strong client base in those areas. All right, this is just an overview of their digital wallet here. Skrill is their most popular. They also have Netteller. If you go on the app stores and just double check and make sure everything's legit, they both have hundreds of thousands of downloads and fairly good ratings. And I've got to tell you, these wallets in the gaming space are very important. There is a huge trust factor that goes on with depositing money in your wallet to use at online casinos, especially with regulation being a little thin right now. People just don't trust every type of digital wallet that's out there. So when you start to build a user base like Skrill and Netteller has, it can really pay off, particularly in the international markets. And you see down here some of their big merchants, all names that if you invest in some of the gambling space, you would recognize. All right, and then something I found at kind of the back of the presentation, they also are doing the buy and sell crypto. And I think what's intriguing here is they do not, you can also instantly sell cryptocurrencies. So they do not keep it kind of like in the network. You can use it to pay for things. You can buy and sell both sides of the cryptocurrencies. So what we've seen, at least with Square and PayPal running out into the same world here in 2021, this has been somewhat profitable for those two other companies, and it looks like Skrill's been doing it for 2020. I can kind of see this world growing even more, particularly if you can attach it to the sports betting world. I think what's going to be interesting here with crypto and Skrill is if you can find some people, there will be people who spend a lot of time, trying to maximize their cryptocurrency gains and parlaying those into sports betting. I know it'll happen. We'll see if it catches on. All right, so for me personally, this was a great kind of cheap play on an industry and another stock that I'm already in, and that's with DraftKings and sports betting. So it made a lot of sense across the board. On the other side of the coin, I think you get that bonus exposure to what they're doing with Twitch and the eCash for video gaming. I don't know a ton about that world, but I do know that that world is growing. So if they're staying focused in that area, I think that there's a lot of positives for PaySafe going forward over the next 2 to 3 years. Then you have the international side of the coin, and that's something that while PayPal and Square are making their mark on an international play, you would have to say that PaySafe, by being in some of those bigger gambling markets in Europe, actually would have an international advantage because of how big those markets are. All right, so on the con side for me, there's a couple things I want to call out just to be fair on both sides of the coin. Number one, as I mentioned, I waited 30 days to buy this. It wasn't a strict 30 days, it just happened to be 30 days. And that's because it's a relatively small SPAC, and I just wanted to read as much as I could. It does look like the originator of the SPAC is someone with a ton of experience. His name is Bill Foley. I had personally never heard of him, but he has done this many times. And it also looks like most of the leadership in the PaySafe arena is pretty solid, and they've been there for at least a year or two. The one thing that I don't like is anytime you do a SPAC, it's those pro forma financials. It's really murky, right? Until you get out into the real world and you start posting audited reports to the SEC, it's very hard for a guy like me to go back and find sort of a comfort zone. So this is kind of like jumping off a bridge for me. But I recognize the names. I already knew about Skrill. I already knew about PaySafe. So I'm going to take a chance on a $15 stock. I just bought 100 shares to start things off with, kind of see where it goes. If the actual merger date is March 1st, then I have plenty of time to see how the snowball runs, and maybe you get a little bit more pieces of information come out. So that's how I'm playing it. But I am excited about it, and I wanted to share the journey with you guys. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of this BFT PaySpace ticker in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next video.